The year is 1996, and my family decided to get a Macintosh Performa computer for the household. It would be in the hallway so that we could all use it for work, the internet, and best of all, computer games. Amongst several other CD-ROMs and floppies, a game came packaged with the computer. It had its own little box, and within it, 3 discs. This game was the Daedalus Encounter, a full motion video puzzle game in the same vein as The Seventh Guest. It focused on a linear movie with puzzles to solve and environments to explore in between. It was released in 1995, developed by Mechadeus, and published by Virgin Interactive. The game was released on the Macintosh, PC, and the 3DO. Like most FMV games, it took actors and put them into 3D generated worlds, trying to impress by combining that Hollywood feel with gameplay. Often, the acting was in the so bad it's good category, with actors being underwhelming or over the top.
Why? Because it's a spooky old house? Don't worry, dear. I'll watch out for you.
And was rarely, if at all, successful. But with Daedalus Encounter, you could tell that they were trying to be at least better than the standard FMV. That's why they probably decided to take the Wing Commander 3 route and get at least one film star. And that main draw was actress Tina Creer to stand alongside Kristen Bacher. While Bacher was and is a generally unknown actor, Tina Creer had been in several movies and TV shows, like the Wayne's World movies, as well as the movie True Lies a year previous to the game. It seems that the marketing really relied on Tina Creer, because she was placed on the front of everything for this game. On the cover of the Mac and PC CD case, it shows her on the front, while on the back of the case is reserved for Bacher. On the 3DO and the PC box, she is up front and prominent, while Bacher is behind her and off to the side. The game starts off in space, where Ari, Tina Creer, Zach, Kristen Bacher, and Casey, yourself, are fighting in an interstellar war. Unfortunately for you, as everyone is ejecting from their spacecraft, you get hit by a piece of exploded enemy ship. But 2 months later, your friends end up stealing you from a medical center and inform you,
Look. Your mind has been placed in a cerebral support mechanism. It's a device that when...
She's trying to say you're a brain in a box, Case.
Zach, could you let me handle this, please?
Oh.
Also, the war is over, and your friends are now salvagers and want you to join them in their adventures. Even more unfortunate is that you were stolen before the med team could give you a voice. This, along with your unisex name, allows the player, no matter their gender, to fit the unisex role. With the only way to communicate being yes, no, or flashes of light, and you being contained as a brain in a box, you would think there wouldn't be much in the way of interaction. But this brain in a box has the ability to control a probe, which will explore environments, solve puzzles, and defend itself and friends. The first part of the game is getting used to the interface and moving about the environments. It's a slow start, but works to introduce us to the universe and the game mechanics within it. Using the brain interface will allow you to do analysis on objects, run diagnostics on yourself, grab items with your grapple arm, turn on a floodlight in the dark, and along with a few minor buttons, there are some colored ones that will be covered later. When the game cuts from being a movie to allowing you to move about the environment, it is usually limited to moving the mouse to the sides and clicking to look left, right, up, and down, as well as interacting with some things in the environment. This interaction with your mouse will either move you further in the area or use to take a closer look at something. After you explore an abandoned freighter and do not find much, your colleagues decide to look somewhere that might prove to be a little more profitable. But with that, there's always a risk, and that is crashing into an unknown alien ship that is on its way to the nearest sun's corona. It is now your mission to explore the alien ship and find a way to escape this situation. When you first try to enter the ship, it becomes clear that colors will play an important role in the game. Using your color bar of buttons, you will solve puzzles, open doors, and basically will be the lifeline to surviving within the ship. When you scan certain doors and objects, a color code will be saved to your interface, which you can name whatever you want, and can be scrolled through using the yellow buttons on either side of the send button. Collecting these codes will become useful later on when you learn what they mean and how they can be used. And when you learn what they can be used for, you can send them using the send button. There are 11 puzzles in the game, 6 of which are door puzzles. The difficulty options on the main menu within the options button are easy, medium, and hard, and basically equate to how many stages to door puzzles there are. On easy, you might just solve one stage of a puzzle and continue on in the game, but as the difficulty increases, so does the number of stages. As far as I can tell, the difficulty only affects the door puzzles. A portion of the non-door puzzles sometimes come down to hitting random buttons just to beat them. I'm sure there's a logical way to solve them, but sometimes it seems simpler just to hit whatever works. If you're having trouble with puzzles, you can hit the S key to go to the options and hit the help button for the puzzle hints. Of course, since these are spoilery, they will ask you if you really want to spoil the puzzles. These will give you hints on how the puzzles work and what your main goal is for each. While we are in the main menu, I will cover what is here. Still within the help menu is a button called General. The General button will give a laundry list of information on the backstory, how the interface works, and what the shortcuts are to the interface buttons. Going back to the options button, you can change the volume of the game. In the extras menu, they give you a trailer for the game, a photo gallery, credits, and a ship's log, which will give you some backstory to the characters and what takes place before the opening cutscene. It is in diary form. And under the game menu, there is New Game, Load Game, Save Game, Continue, Jump To, and Quit. Now I shall explain how the save system and this option list works within the game. When you save a game, you'll need to go to the options, but this is where you need to be careful, since saving can only truly take place at puzzles. What I mean is, if you hit S during cutscene to save and hit continue, you will continue from the beginning of that cutscene. Meaning, if the cutscene was long, you will have to sit through it again until you get to a puzzle where you can save properly. This is where the Jump To option is important. It is basically a scene select menu. This will show pictures from certain parts of the game and will note which disc they are from. But the thing to remember is that when you open the game, then load a previous game, and then hit the Jump To option, there will not be any scenes available. You must first hit continue, then go back to hit Jump To if you want to go to a previous scene. But if your save game is on a different disc from the scenes you want to play, and you are using the first disc, all you have to do is hit New Game, then exit, and then the scenes will be available in the Jump To option. Otherwise, you'll have to do the disc change. The thing to remember is that this is basically an interactive movie, with most of it being a movie. These options are not only here to help you get back into the game after you quit, but they are also quite helpful when you or your partners die. And you might die a bit, for mistakes, not knowing what needs to be done, seeing how the characters die, and so on. But these scenes will be a checkpoint for you to continue when you do die. One good tip to not having to repeat the opening again is to respond yes to the first question, because otherwise it will be a quick game over.
It's not working. Sorry, Case. Shut it down.
Okay.
But luckily, the opening cutscene can be skipped if you hit continue after you've failed. Another tip to remember is to scan everything, especially the doors. Having these in your database might save your life several times as well as your actual time, because sometimes not having a scan will result in your death, giving you no option but to jump to a previous scene. There are a few sections where it does break you away from puzzles for you to shoot at enemies, use your thrusters to save a character from death, and to explore. Shooting at enemies is done using your mouse and will be available to use when the laser switch on your interface tells you it can be used. The thruster section is annoying, but it's all about pressing the button at the right moments. And the exploration is at first limited by the linear movie, but it will allow you to explore the entire ship later on. The portion where it really sucks to explore, and is basically a way to artificially lengthen the game, is within a maze of identical looking tunnels. Yes, there's an interesting Easter egg down here, but the time and energy to make it out is annoying, especially since you need to watch your probe travel to each section of the tunnels. This, and an early part in the game with dozens of holes to search, are the most annoying in exploration, making me wish there was a skip option. One thing to note is that there are multiple endings that are affected by your choices at the end. For the time, the Daedalus Encounter might have been near the top of the line in terms of 3D computer graphics, but it hasn't aged well in terms of video quality. You can see the pixels and the rough textures, and sometimes the actors aren't very clear to see. But if you can look past that, the environments are imaginative and look great, and the actors don't look bad when they are close to the screen. They do look kind of odd when they wear the spacesuits, but that's only temporary. For some, it may take time to get used to the actors being on these 1995 3D rendered graphics. But for me, that's kind of part of the appeal of FMV games. During the game, you will experience different perspectives that will come from your box, your probe, or Ari or Zach's headcam. You can view the game in two different ways. The first is the brain interface, which takes up most of the screen with a small portion dedicated to the view screen. And the other, if you can run it, is the full screen experience that can be used when the spacebar is pressed. This will all be within 640 by 480 resolution, and will block out the desktop if you're using a higher resolution. If you don't memorize the shortcut controls, you will probably switch between the two views quite a bit. if you do memorize them, there will still be some need to go back to the interface for certain actions. The graphics, when coupled with the great music and ambient noise, create a unique atmosphere that engrossed me into the universe they created, often giving a tense feeling from exploring the unknown ship, not knowing what to expect next.
Look at this area. There's no sign of any weapons whatsoever. These guys didn't even put up a fight.
Maybe they didn't have any weapons.
Oh, come on. They built a spaceship half the size of a small planet. You told me they don't have the technology to build a simple laser?
No, I'm saying maybe they chose not to. Maybe they're a peaceful race.
Yeah, well, they're real peaceful now.
The actors can in fact act, and there's a sense that they are having some fun with it. The actors make some jokes, and they have a few funny moments.
Oh, shit! Oh, shit!
And since this is a sci-fi game, there is some technobabble in use.
I think the medtechs were working on a speech interpolation system when we pulled you from the lab. Sorry we were in such a hurry.
There are moments where the sound made from interacting with stuff stops the ambient noise for a moment on the PC version. This might be a virtual machine emulation issue, or an actual issue, but it's not too big of one. Besides the Easter egg in the maze, there are some nice little extras, like nods to other space franchise like...
I agree, but where? The Magellan Cluster? Sirius? LV-426?
Oh, not there.
Since this game was released on 3 different platforms, each have some minor differences between them. On the thruster section, the Mac and the PC versions have a different button interface for the boost. And when you die, the PC version allows you to skip the ending cutscene, while the Mac version doesn't. Another interface difference is between the computer versions and the 3DO. The 3DO is full screen with the interface coming from a pop-up menu. And it seems that the team or teams who did the computer versions of the game chose slightly different takes on scenes than the team who did the 3DO version. I do not own a 3DO, but I noticed this while watching a 3DO playthrough video.
So what do you say, guys? Let's do some hunting. So, what do you say, guys? Let's do some hunting!
The requirements for the Macintosh version of the game are 8 megabytes of RAM, 640 by 480 screen capable of 256 colors or higher, 4 megabytes free space for minimal installation, and 25 megabytes for maximum, a System 7 up to 9, and they will provide QuickTime 2.0, Multimedia Tuner 2.0.1, and Sound Manager 3.0. For the PC requirements, they will require the same in terms of RAM, hard drive space, and graphics, but they will require PC or MS-DOS 5.0 or later, with Windows 3.1 or later. It is not recommended to use Mac emulation for this game, as it will most likely start to lag and the audio will eventually go out of sync with the video. The lag will make the game hard to beat for certain sections, but it does run fine on my iMac running OS 9. On the PC front, I ran it on Windows 7 using a Windows 98 virtual machine. I'm sure that if you can install Windows 3.1 on DOSBox, that might also be an option. The Daedalus Encounter was one of my first FMV games, and even if I didn't get as far as a kid, it holds a special place in my nostalgia. There are frustrations with the save system, dying over and over again on certain sections, and while the script might not be the best, it is enjoyable. It's one of those games where I wonder why I keep going back to it. That question will come up more since I finally beat the game this year. I guess besides the nostalgia, FMV games, even with their annoying quirks, are something that I can appreciate. If you like FMV games or you like what you see, I suggest you try it out, since it's relatively cheap online. On Amazon, you can get the PC version for as low as $1.25, the Mac version as low as $1.48, and the 3DO version as low as $6.49. There are more places to get them, but these seem like the best prices I could find. The links will be in the description. Thanks for watching. Any feedback on this video or any of my other videos would be appreciated. If you want to get in contact with me, message me on YouTube or Twitter. And if you want to see more of my work or my last reviews, click the links provided.